And I couldn't get it started.
Oh, geez. Hey, Andrea. Oh, everyone's coming in now.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Sorry, I couldn't get my meeting started.
Make me nervous.
I know. I'm so sorry. I couldn't get it started. It was not cooperating.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I have one in the waiting room. I can wait a couple minutes if you want to get settled, or we're recording now, but I can.
Andrea,
We're waiting for Carrie, aren't we?
thank you for making those.
Good evening,
Is that our-
everyone.
Is that our only person in the waiting room? Okay.
Yeah.
She does a great job of coming to a lot of meetings.
Yes, she does. Lissa's been great.
Yep. Hi, Carrie.
Hello, everyone.
Not really where you are, or is that just the background?
No, it's where I am up here, but not in physical. It's a chemistry lab, probably an 1800s chemistry lab.
Yeah, I was thinking it looked a little old. The lights look really old.
I thought it was the high school.
Oh, I hope not.
Me too.
I think we're a little better than that. Although we did have that distillation set up for water for a long time.
I remember that.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. Is everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's get started if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, the March minutes. Can I have a motion for that approval?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
aye.
Great. Next, we'll move on to the update on instructional programs, current planning and surveys.
So we just wanted to bring you up to date on things you likely already know. Dr. Roach sent out surveys in his Friday blast to all families in the district, and we're gleaning information from them preliminarily, whether they chose to homeschool this year, cyber, charter, parochial, private, UPOLA, face-to-face, and what their intentions are for next year. We did give them some basic parameters of a synchronous first grade through fifth grade platform. We are not offering a virtual K. We really want those kiddos in for our first year of full day K. And then an asynchronous platform for 6 through 12. And so that's the current thinking, and that's what we asked for families to kind of think about as they were making their decisions. This is not the final declaration. This is just for planning purposes. A quick look today, because Sarah and I were so curious. We checked this afternoon, and what we could see with a good number in, there were probably 200 plus for each survey, somewhere over 300 responses already. We saw 92% of folks saying, yes, we're coming back face to face. And then and that was K to 8, 88% at the high school. So those numbers may have changed, but we were happy to see those preliminary numbers. That survey will stay open, I think, until May, I want to say the 2nd. Yeah, thank you. Till May 2nd. And then we'll be able to kind of work with that a little bit. I think the numbers look great for what we're planning. That was a good initial reaction. So we'll keep monitoring that, and we'll continue to do our planning for next year. As for this year, our K kids have been back 4 days, loving that. We are in the midst of PSSA testing for grades 3 through 8 right now. That's added an additional hiccup in the areas of traffic and parent drop off, and just added I won't say stress during the day, but a heightened sense of awareness and planning. So we're in the midst of that. It'll be winding down within the next 5 days. And so we're thankful for that. And we're continuing to get ready for the Keystones at the high school starting May 17th. So that's kind of where we are in terms of current planning and surveys. I just like to keep that on there because we're in such a state of flux, to see if there are questions or concerns, anything that you need to know from any of us.
Okay, any questions from any committee members?
I don't have any at this time, but I gotta meditate on it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
okay for now.
okay. I did have a question. I don't recall if we covered it in a board meeting or a workshop. Are we planning on a 5-day per week program in the fall? Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. All right, and since this is a committee meeting, we have more interaction with our audience. Are there any questions from the audience on this item in particular?
Nope, I hope they all come back 5 days a week.
Okay. Okay, then if there's no further questions, then let's go to the next item, which is something I requested, basically an update on progress of the students and if there's anything that we need to do. I know we're already doing summer programs for help for catch up for, you know, the result of having almost 1 year of virtual programming. So is there any, I guess I'll turn it over to Mrs. Bass for any update on that item.
So we're beginning to look at our end of year testing where we will be able to gather some data on K to 12 students. Basically, our 9 through 12 students will engage in some Linkit benchmarks if they're in a Keystone course. And again, of course, we'll be doing Keystone exams. They will be administering final exams. So we'll have some good information on student progress 9 to 12 as we close out the school year. K to 8, we have additional measures that we invest in every year, and those are Fontes and Pinnell testing, which is FMP testing. That's kind of a reading measure for K to 5. We'll be doing MAP testing for K to 8. We'll be doing, Sarah, help me. Oh, Dibbles, that's the other one. We're talking about it so much today, my mind is traveling. So we'll be able to pull a lot of student data from some end of the year measures. Right now, currently too, our principals are engaged with their data teams to see which students they want to invite to summer camp. Remember, we have a Ready to Learn camp for our K to 2 students, and then we have a Power Up camp for 3 to 12. We've been able to interview and we feel fully staffed for Ready to Learn. We feel fully staffed for Power Up K to 6. I'm sorry, 3 to 6. We're still working on some, actually K to, I think we have through 7th grade too, Sarah. So we need 8, 9, and 10 and 11th grade teachers. So we're confident that we'll be able to run those programs for our students. Remember, that's an invite only, and that's for students who we feel are struggling. We do, though, we recognize that there will be some families who say, I want my child to get extra help this summer. Can they come to camp? And though they may not qualify using our data measures, we do have, and I'll pop on it real quick. We do have, can you see that? It says UPSD Summer 2021. Okay.
Yes.
It gives, similar to last summer, some really good resources for families. And one of the things, I'll probably move this up a little bit, but Lexia is giving us, again, access through July 31st. The kids already do this program. They love this program. It's basically a literacy gaming platform where they really do show gains. And so we wanted families to say, listen, even if they're not coming to camp, we have a tremendous number of things that they can choose from, some of which they've already done, including Lexia and Second Step. So we do have, they use Scholastic in the classroom. We have this broken down K to 3. We have it for students entering 4-5. Again, the first 3 on this 4-5 list, the kids have done all year and do engage in those platforms quite readily. We have Scratch. They may have touched that in one of their classes. Khan Academy, they're likely familiar with in Scholastic. So we have all of this for all of our families. And basically the intro says, are you worried about summer slide? Are you looking for fun and educational ideas? Or do you just have a curious mind and want to keep learning? So we wanted to be sure we had enough for all families because we can't offer the camps to everyone. But those families will be getting letters within the next couple of weeks if their child is invited to camp. We'll take the data that we get from all of our end of year assessments, Dr. Drake, and we'll use that again, as we normally do with what we get from PSSAs to help inform our instruction in the fall. And we do plan to do our normal baseline testing as well in the fall to help us figure out where our students are, where they may be struggling, where we need to work on some core instruction, and then additionally, our tier 2 and tier 3 interventions and support that we need for kids will beef up based on all that data that we get. So I don't know if that answered what you were looking for. We just wanted to share where we were and what we were thinking. I'm not sure that addressed exactly what you hoped in your email.
Yeah, so I think it did for the most part. What I was really looking at is if there was a practical impact on learning of what we'd expect the student to learn in a quote unquote normal environment where they're in full time. So it sounds like we're doing some assessments to see where we're at with that. And then based on that, if there's some significant deficiencies, there's summer programs. If there's not, there's resources here, which I guess you'll share with the parents of things that can be done in the summertime,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then when they come in the fall, I don't recall, do we do map tests and those kind of things early on to see
Yes.
where everyone's at? So that's another way to assess where they're at versus where we'd expect them to be if it was
Yes.
the beginning of a year, not following a virtual year.
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll do all of those. The other thing that I should mention is the state of Pennsylvania is offering an opportunity for us to send them our MAP scores and any of our DIBEL scores and some of the things that we do. And they'll do some projections for us. They'll do some crunching of that data and some of that data analysis and provide it to us over the summer as well. So it's almost like, okay, so you here's what they did do, here's what they might have done projected wise on these different assessments, and try to give us a little bit more detail about the individual students. So we will collect all of the MAP testing that we do, and we will get that to them so they can kind of crunch those numbers for us. It's just one more measure to take a look at to see what we can learn, what was lost, right? There's a lot of people in the educational community kind of cringing right now whenever we say learning loss, because we can't be guaranteed that happened. We can see where students are. We can look at different data platforms, but I think the point others are making is they learned a tremendous amount. They learned how to be more independent. And I know you're a numbers guy, and so we also want to see it in the numbers. So we are definitely paying attention to that. We're attending to it in both end of year testing, summer planning, and then beginning of year testing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that that people didn't learn.
Yeah.
And I never would say that. I know everybody tried
I
really
know.
hard.
Yeah.
It's just certain people learn differently than others. And so if we have to acknowledge that and then just see what we can do to help everybody recover as much as they can. Obviously, our seniors will be out in the world. So that's nothing we could do on that front, I guess, except maybe a summer program. I'm not sure for some of them.
Some who don't graduate will likely enter credit recovery, Dr. Drake, but they won't get any kind of help if they, if they've passed and been successful.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that covers that.
Okay.
Related to the testing, so we're doing the standardized state tests. I guess virtually we did in some cases, or are they all in person now?
Everything's in person. If a family did not want to take PSSAs, they had some options and keystones. So we had some meetings with parents. There's certainly a religious opt-out and there's a refusal option. And so many of our families, though, who are virtual chose to bring their students in. So they're bringing them in on a Wednesday for testing, or they're bringing them in on a Tuesday, Thursday for testing. They've been kept in separate environments to test with just virtual students. The COVID protocols have been observed. And so we're creating a safe atmosphere. And we did have a number of students opt in because PSSA and Keystone would not let the exams be done virtually. They had to be done face-to-face.
Okay. And then we'll get our PVOS and SPPs and all that next year, or I know they changed to a different model. I can't recall what the name of it is.
They moved to Future Ready PA
That's
Index. But one of the things that the state is saying for testing this year is even though we're doing PSSA and Keystone testing, it doesn't count toward a teacher's PVOS score because they didn't feel that that was really an equitable or a fair thing to do. So we don't have PVOS scores this year, and we won't have an SPP score because they're not counting PSSAs and Keystones in that manner. So
Will they benchmark against other schools though? Just so, I mean, everybody's in the same boat, basically. I mean, most of Pennsylvania was virtual for the most part. So will we see how, at
Right.
least how we did relative to other schools in terms of,
I think that data will be available. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it usually is. There usually is an Excel spreadsheet and we can kind of see some different things, but we certainly, they're saying that they want to give the testing this year so that we can measure growth and so that we do have a measure, but they didn't want it to be counted punitively against teachers. So it won't count for SPP
Okay.
or PVAS, but we will have our scores and we will be able to look at the specific skill and standard deficiencies.
okay,
Areas
that-
of strength.
that makes sense. So for me, that covers it. We have a
Okay.
way to assess, we have a way, we have
Yeah.
some plans for helping the students along if they need it. And then we're also going to assess in the fall and adjust accordingly. Okay.
Yes.
So that covers the questions for me.
Okay.
Are there any questions from anyone else on the curriculum committee first before we go to anyone else?
I just have a quick question regarding support for teachers and what kind of support are we giving teachers in terms of instructional strategies and methodologies and
It's a great question. So we've been working, when we had our Wednesday afternoons, we were able to do a lot of professional development, a lot of professional learning. And this year, for the first time, we did a lot of tech integration. So we would show them Pear Deck in the context of instruction. We would show them Nearpod in the context of instruction. And some of the other platforms that were new, Imagine Math, we got some training on. We even had some social studies teachers this past week, learning that specific platform. So a lot of that was done initially in the beginning of the year. The support we provide right now is for a lot of our curriculum writers. They have some questions for teachers that are struggling, though. They really do go to the folks in their building. They go to their reading specialist, their math specialist. Mary Kate Raytek, who was our interim instructional coach, has done an amazing job of working with all of our K-5 teachers and reading and math specialists to really crunch the data. You'd love it, Dr. Drake. I mean, the spreadsheets that all of these ladies work from are tremendous, and they really are looking at what students need and then how to provide that. Mary Kate's been very helpful in creating kind of like an if-then chart. If a student's struggling with this, then try this strategy or resource. And so we're building that. I mean, it all leads to what Dr. Farina has been building so well for a number of years is our MTSS program. How do we support every single student? We do it through curriculum, instruction, assessment, professional development. And we've even been talking with Amber Malloy over at MCIU, who is just a literacy rock star. And she's going to kind of be informing some of our planning, and hopefully we'll be able to bring her in to do some professional learning with our K-3 or early literacy teachers, and then additionally 4 to 5. So it's a great question, and we plan to even bring more next year, Peg, as we continue to support the MTSS model.
and you mentioned K-8, and of course my concern is 9 to 12, which sometimes I think not that we forget about it, but when sorry to bring this up, but when I was a working administrator, I would cringe at some of the things I saw in the classroom. A lot of lecturing, a lot of, I hope we can find a way to put some focus on 9 to 12 and help them differentiate a little bit better. Not that they're not doing that, because I don't know, I'm not in their classroom, but I worry about that grade level.
Yeah, we're even looking at an MTSS model in the high school, Peg. I mean, that we can't leave them out. That's critical. And one of the items that I'll have hopefully to bring forward is a contract with TLS, just as we approved last year, but never executed. But there will be a group of teachers at the high school that would get that very specific training. We like to do it in a cohort model in smaller groups because we really feel like that's effective. But yes, to your point, 110%. And I know the teachers are anxious for it, many of them, but also they feel pretty good because they learned some tricks this year, right? Like how to differentiate with some of the digital platforms. So I think that we're in a great spot, and I hope we're able to bring that and execute it. But you raise an excellent point for sure.
Maybe a little bit of a silver lining with the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few. Yeah, there
Thank
were a few. Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions? Dana, do you have any
I was
questions?
going to ask just about the elective summer programs. All of them have a teacher component, teacher intervention, or some entirely you're keying in information and it's all automated.
So for this part here,
Yeah.
okay, so some of them, most of them are things where the kids can be independent, but I do know, because we've used the platform, that Imagine Math has live teacher support there. And so if they need live teacher support, they can get it. Lexia is leveled so that as a student is working and they're continuing to progress, the program will continue to push them. If they're struggling, they're going to bring them back a little bit and work on some other skills. So though there's not an actual teacher other than Imagine Math, Sarah, that I'm aware of, there's that element of computer adaptability where it'll take them on a pathway where they're comfortable and hopefully successful. But some of the other ones, like Second Step, that's completely independent. That's student choice, whatever they want to do. Code Break and Scratch and things like that, those are student choice. So it really is about engaging the mind. The only thing where we would have actual teacher support is with the summer camp. I do know too, a lot of our teachers send things home with kids for the summertime and say, hey, I know you want to continue to learn. You've been a great student. Here are some things you can do to keep your mind sharp over the summer. And I'm certain that probably some entertain emails this summer, because that's who we have.
Entertainment especially.
Yeah, yes.
So that brings a question up for me. I know my children in the past have had like summer reading and things like this. For that resource list, which looks really extensive, is there any thought of the teachers of this year, based on what they assess at the end of the year, to recommend certain programs for certain children, or is that just too logistically hard to?
No, I mean, I think
manage?
I think that's a good idea. I think what you'd find is that our K-5 teachers will be all over Lexia. Like they'll definitely be pushing that. And I think that our 6 to 8 teachers, I don't know if I saw Freckle on there, Sarah. I might want to add Freckle 6 to 8.
Yeah, let's add that one.
That's the program that they've been using. And so they certainly can work with individual students to say, hey, I've seen this list. Here's what I would do, and maybe hand them something different. But off of this list, here are the things I would recommend for you. We do have specific summer reading and summer assignments for certain courses, for AP courses and things like that, to really ready the students for when they come back. But that's not widespread across every grade level. Largely because sometimes summer reading can be such a drag, and we really just want them to have fun with learning. I don't say that to disparage it, because I do believe in it, but sometimes it's, you've come off a year and kids just want to maybe do some choice about learning rather than some prescriptive pieces.
Okay, so I guess if I could take what you said, it sounds like we have a lot of resources, and there may be some sporadic recommendation of certain things, but it's not like a general
It's not
K to
prescriptive.
12. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Should it be, or is it just too logistically hard to do?
I think that if we have identified learners that we know are struggling, they're going to make it into one of our camps. They're going
Okay.
to be invited, and or there's going to be some strong recommendations with the family for work over the summertime. I think we're going to capture the ones that we're really most worried about, Dr. Drake. I think that for our students who are at grade level and wanting to do more or challenging themselves, there's a plethora of things to choose from here. I think to get that prescriptive over the summertime, because it should be a time where, we're learning for fun and kind of staying engaged, but with student choice. I feel like that's a big part of intrinsic motivation, and we don't want to, I don't know. I mean, we could certainly talk about it. I think it's worthy of conversation. I really do.
Okay, I don't want to prescribe anything. I was just curious if, there's
Yeah.
the kids are definitely going to be, if you think of the curve, there's the children that need the extra are going to be identified. The children that are, on the other end will maybe be self-motivated. It's the majority that's in the middle. Is it useful or not? Or would it be worse to say, go on Lexia and do this?
Yeah.
Would that be even more demotivating? I don't know the answer, but
Yeah,
it's just an
not
open
sure I
question.
do either. And I don't know, Dr. Farina, would you weigh in, or Sarah, and your thoughts from the past?
I think there's a lot of benefit in student choice, specifically after a year like this one. And we want to try to pick
Mhm.
activities that are engaging and fun, but that they also don't feel, bound by, that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety, especially coming off of such an interesting year. I think we might consider doing some prescriptive things for our learners who are on the cusp of perhaps really struggling, or who may just need a little bit of a push to reach that higher level. But I think for the most part, really engaging student choice is important in the summertime.
I would have to concur. I think, we prescribe much of what happens in all of the student days of the school year. I think availability at different entry points into the standards for grade level and across content. I think all of those things being available, but I'm not sure, even if we were prescriptive about it, if over the summer parents would engage, truthfully. Because they do, as Sarah said, families do use that time to decompress, and I also echo Kim's sentiments that, the kids who really are struggling, we will make that attempt to prescribe based on those skill sets. So, and this summer in particular with the summer programming, we certainly are expanding how many kids we're able to service over the summer.
Okay, yeah, all that makes sense. And I think if any year requires a decompression in the summer, it would have been this year.
This one.
So, okay.
I think so.
Okay, so are there any questions from any other attendees or on
I
student
have
progress?
a question. Gene Dolph
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Mr.
from
Doloff.
East Greenville. And I'm going to take you back a little bit. I'm sorry, I wasn't fast enough when you asked the first question. We were talking about social studies, the 4th and the 10th grade text. My question is, in that textbook, is there any reference to that 1619 narrative about American history?
We're actually not there yet, Mr. Doloff. So I will answer that, but that we didn't get to number 4 yet.
Okay.
Dr. Drake, do you want me to go ahead and answer that?
Well, maybe we could go in order, but we'll keep that
No,
question. I was just
In
wondering if you
order.
had any.
I thought I lost the place, so I'll wait. I'll be a good troop and I'll wait.
Okay, no problem. But we'll definitely get to it, and also we'll get to any other questions you have. So, okay. So then, are there any? Mrs. Cunningham, do you have any questions on this, or?
Nope, I'm good. Sounds good. I hope everybody comes to their summer stuff and everybody chooses to do the fun things and learn while they're at it.
Yeah, just to conclude, it sounds like you have a good plan, or we have a good plan as a district with a lot of resources. So for as long as people take advantage of it, we'll try to recover as much as possible. Okay, sounds good. So then now we could go to item number 4 with the resources for curriculum approval, which maybe we could address Mr. Doloff's question before we dive into the list of
Yes.
textbooks.
Very much so. Just in terms of context, just to let you know, this resource list has been derived from a year's worth of work, building the curriculum documents according to PA state standards and/or PA core standards, depending on what subject area we were in. And so the year of building the curriculum and then finding that resource, looking at different resources, evaluating it against a rubric, is this what we want, has led us to this point where we have these quotes from these companies. These are the preferred choices for our grade levels who have invested the year's worth of time in writing that curriculum. To answer Mr. Doloff's question, I can tell you for certain, absolutely not in the 4th grade book. I will have to do, and I'm at home right now, so I don't have the book in front of me, but I'm going to say I'm 99% sure it is not mentioned in that book, but I absolutely will check and report back out at the next meeting.
Thank you. I
Yes.
do appreciate it. It's for me, for one person on the call, and I've loved this call so far. It's really been great to see what you're doing. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. The 1619 project to me is just is in direct conflict with our founding principles. And so I would object vigorously if in fact that 1619 material is included in that text, especially for the 10th graders. It is in direct conflict with our founding principles, and I'm going to go down with the ship fighting for our founding principles always. So you'll hear me again on these calls. But thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm very pleased with the direction this committee is going in with your plan so far.
And I will certainly reach out to Dr. Drake tomorrow when I've had a chance to look at that. And then I don't know if, I can certainly report out at the next meeting, but if you need a quicker answer, we can certainly get back in touch with you. But I'm fairly certain it's not. I just have to do a quick look again.
No quick answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You can see too that some of the items on here, there's a site license for business, and that site license will assist most of our business courses. And then you see some individual purchases for entrepreneurship in there. You see some specific purchases for web page design, desktop publishing, Microsoft Word, then web page as well. And then we did have a review of World Language Spanish 1 and 2, and the same textbook can be used for both of those courses. And so that's why you see the number that you see there. I will tell you that because we've been in curriculum review with business, we really are excited about the opportunity to bring more certifications into the program. So at the end of a class like desktop or Microsoft Word, Microsoft actually has a test, and you can get, quote, certified in Word or in Excel or in some different things. And so the teachers are very excited about bringing that in as well and offering it. There are some hoops to jump through. We have some logistics yet to figure out, but we're very excited that in this age of career and college readiness, one of the things that kids need to be able to show is I've earned this. I've earned the certificate that says I'm more than proficient in these specific programs. And we know that Microsoft Word and the Microsoft Office suite is used all over the place. And so to have those certifications in hand to be able to make themselves more attractive for internships or particular jobs or college courses, we're excited to be able to bring that in. I can't guarantee it's coming next year with this because, as I said, there are some logistics. You actually have to go through an actual test. And so we want to make sure that we have everything in place to be able to do that. So it's coming. And we're very excited about that. But the resources that I have listed, I just have to plug in before my battery dies. But the resources that we have listed there are the ones that they need to actually teach the curriculum as written this year.
Okay, so these are all for curriculum that we approved. This isn't any accelerated approval for textbooks. This is just what's planned.
This is what's planned. This is as a result of, and these are the curriculum writers that we engaged this year. We did this kind of at the beginning of the school year. And so based on that work, these are the resources that are needed. We're not getting a new resource for literacy K-5. We're still using benchmark literacy. We're still using everyday math. We rewrote the curriculum with those resources in mind. So you'll see basically secondary things here with the exception of 4th grade. We did need a new social studies resource. 5th grade got the same one last year in the series.
Okay, are there any questions from the committee members?
Yes, being new to the curriculum and instruction committee, I'm curious to know does the committee ever have an opportunity to review any of the textbooks or resources? And I'm particularly interested in the 10th grade social studies and 11th grade social studies texts.
Andrea, is part of our policy public display?
Yeah, so we make all materials that are up for board approval available at the Education Center in the Superintendent's Suite. And so people can come in and look at it at that point. You know, for board members, if we have extra copies, we have allowed you to take them home, and Joan, our Joan Smith would always take all resources home and bring them back. So yes, we do make them available.
We've done that for many years. I'm not sure how it works this year with quarantines and pandemics and that, but we did used to have those all the time in the Ed Center.
So
So
do you have those,
Yeah, they're in my office, but I'll happily move them to the superintendent's suite. Absolutely.
so they're there currently in your office?
Yes, they're in my office. I just have to get them labeled and then over to the superintendent's suite.
Okay, thank you.
We just do it there, Kim, because there's an extra seat.
There's no room in my small office.
No.
We
No.
could do 6 feet, basically. Perfect.
Okay, any other
Yeah.
questions?
Carrie, so that would be something that Jean could come and take a look at that 10th grade book if you wanted to? Just saying, Jean.
Mhm.
Gives me an answer.
Yeah.
And off I'll come to the superintendent's office next week. Thanks, Kimberly.
Sure, absolutely.
Just related to that, is there anything that Mr. Doloff would need to do to come in to visit? Do we need to do like a visitor or what do you like a medical form, or do you have to take his temperature or anything? I know some companies they and some colleges that we visited over the last few months, they do all those things before
Yeah.
someone can enter a building. Just
We
want to make sure.
would,
Go ahead.
yeah, we would just ask you to let us know when you're coming. We just have a paper screener, you know.
Okay. And I have my vaccine paper. I'm
Okay, we don't go that far.
I'm in
just a
the
screener.
V category.
All right.
Okay.
And,
Great.
and Mr. Doloff, if you want to let me know when you're coming, I'll make sure to ask you those questions. And then you have a person to ask for there. And then I can walk you down to the suite.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Sure. You
Appreciate
can
it.
pick my brain some more.
Okay. So are there any further questions on any of these texts from anybody, either in the audience or? Okay. Then I would say we should have a motion to move this forward to the next board meeting for approval.
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
Okay,
have-
I'll,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
pardon me.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then they'll be on the next board meeting agenda.
Thank you. I skipped the vote. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the hard work of the teachers to put this curriculum together in a year that has been challenging for most people at home and in school. And so they've done a tremendous job of giving of their time to make really strong curriculum documents, and we're still working. You know, it's always a work in progress. So I wanted to compliment them and really just thank you on their behalf, because to have a new resource that they can really dig into and get where they need to be is very much appreciated. So I'm passing along their thanks that we can even move forward and put them on the board agenda. It is appreciated.
Yeah, I fully concur and thank them for that as well. The way that we move forward as a district is really to make sure that we're teaching state of the art theory and applications and instructional methods. So the way to do that is through the curriculum review process. So I'm a big believer in it, and pass those thanks along to the teachers as well.
We'll do that.
So is that the last item on the agenda?
It is.
Okay.
I would put a bug in your ear that the next meeting will probably be seeking approval for next year's curriculum writers. We've looked at, you know, what we think we have in the budget. We've looked at what courses are next on curriculum review. And what you'll see, Dr. Drake, is, again, there's a lot of business courses because we can't get through all of business in one year. So
Mhm.
you'll see a little bit of business. You'll see some secondary ELA curriculum, some English curriculum, because that, again, is up on the cycle. Having to do K to 12 in 1 year isn't always feasible. So you'll see some of that kind of roll over into next year.
Okay, that's fine. And I would actually, I don't know if it'd be a challenge is the right word, but I would say, knowing our history over the last 7 years, I know we didn't have a formal curriculum committee like this up until maybe 3 years ago. So I think many of our courses may be due for a review. So if there's any way we could accelerate that without breaking the system or really burning out the teachers, I'd say we should think about, is there a way to do that?
The only thing I would say to that is, Sarah probably took a little heart stop there. We do read everything that the teachers do. We do provide feedback. We do provide
Mhm.
support. So doing about 28 courses in a year is kind of like our maximum ability. And I think that's what we're at for next year. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that what I can do, Dr. Drake, is take a look at, where we might need to go next year. And could we move one up a little bit? Is that possible? We do have to stay within the parameters of the budget of what we've budgeted for curriculum writing too. So those are the only two things I would think
Mhm.
about, but certainly we can take a look and see if there's a dire need somewhere that we haven't been able to address. We'll bring forward next year German 1, 2, and 3, French 3, and Spanish 3 and 4 as well. So there's a couple that are like, we just want to finish those particular subject areas.
Okay, yeah, anything you could do to think about that. And I mean, I'm personally supportive of accelerating if we can, because I think we're sort of catching up from, years past. And, being that we had some surpluses in the last few years, it may be that we can do it. I don't want to overload you guys either, because if you're the bottleneck, maybe there's a consideration of, is a consultant helpful to help you accelerate that? But I leave that to you guys. I would just say, put that as an offer to think about. And then we could discuss it in committee, of course. And if the committee agrees, then we move it forward to the board.
Okay.
Okay.
I will have on our May 24th meeting the list of writers, and then I'll give it to you ahead of time too. So you'll have a preview of what it looks like, so that maybe I'm still finalizing who it has agreed to. And so hopefully we'll hear back from everybody shortly and have a pretty good list for you to start to look at. And then Sarah and I can look at the feasibility of more and which ones, and certainly check with Dr. Farina because she's got that history and built the system that we're running on. So that'll be good.
What's the average time commitment for a course writer? What's it
Great question.
require?
So we pay them a set dollar amount to do it. And it really depends. I mean, we meet with them an hour a month in a collective meeting. And then Sarah and I meet with them maybe 3 or 4 other times, 1-to-1, or if there's 2 of them writing, sometimes that's during school, after school, we've even done it on the weekend occasionally. So, there's another probably 5, 6, I mean, I would say minimally 20 hours, but it's probably a lot more than that. Liz is on the line, probably laughing at me. I don't even know how many hours. Because they do so much on their own that I don't even know about. But they meet with Sarah, and I would say at least a minimum of 15 to 20, right, Sarah?
Yeah, at least. I'm trying to calculate what they do all in the back end between the actual
Yeah.
writing and the assessments, and
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Because we have 2 to 3 hour workshops where we train them, and there's 3 of those. And then we do individual meetings and group meetings. So yeah, there's a lot of time invested. It's a great question. And maybe I'll poll them, Dana, to see if they can give me a ballpark for you.
Great. So it's like $1.50 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. I shouldn't have even said how many hours. Everybody's at home doing the math. It's a lot. But I will say that I actually had somebody email me today and say, I miss writing. This year I miss our little meetings. I'm like, well, that's a compliment. I never expected to hear that from anybody. So people are and I'm sure Andrea had the same thing when they were doing it. People do catch on. They like it. They get involved in it. It's engaging. But it is a time commitment. I won't lie.
Sure, it's a challenge, but very rewarding.
Yeah.
I would think if you're a curriculum writer, you probably have a passion for the area. So sometimes then it's not really as much as work, like digging a ditch or something else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, great. Okay, well then, if there's nothing further, that brings us to the end of the agenda. I'll open up if there's any other questions or anything else we need to address. And then if not, we'll close the meeting a few minutes early. Any comments from anybody or anything we didn't cover? Okay, if not, then I'd like to call for adjournment. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See
you,
next
guys.
month.
Thank you. Thank
Have
you
a
very
great
much.
night.
Bye.
Bye.